want you to close your eyes for a second. We're going to a very specific place, and I want you to feel the atmosphere before we even talk about the people. It's the year 2026.
Okay.
We're in the Kina Governorate, deep in the south of Upper Egypt. It's midday. The heat is oppressive, that dry, dusty heat that sort of settles in your lungs. You're standing inside a government health office.
And we all know what that feels like. The low hum of a flickering fluorescent light.
Yeah.
The smell of old paper, maybe some stale coffee, and sweat. The sound of a ceiling fan just clicking rhythmically overhead. It is the definition of mundane bureaucracy.
Exactly. It's boring. It's slow. People are waiting in line, staring at their phones or wiping their foreheads. And then the door opens. A man walks in. He's in his 50s, wearing a traditional galabeah. He looks composed. He doesn't look frantic. He doesn't look like a man hiding a secret. He just looks like a tired father navigating a sad duty.
He walks up to the clerk's desk, clears his throat, and requests a burial permit. He tells the clerk his daughter has passed away. She was 19 years old.
And when the clerk asks for the cause of death, the man doesn't hesitate.
Not at all. He says it was natural causes, a sudden tragedy.
Yeah.
Her heart just stopped.
Right. And in 99% of these cases, the paperwork is a formality, a stamp, a signature, and the family is left to grieve. But this specific office on this specific day followed protocol to the letter.
Which is the key. The rules stated that for a death at home, the health inspector had to physically view the body before releasing the permit.
So the inspector grabs his bag. He's probably thinking about his lunch break or the heat. He follows the father to the house. He steps inside. It's a normal house from the outside. But when he walks into the room where the daughter is lying,
The world just tilts on its axis.
the inspector expects to see a young woman, a 19-year-old girl who died too soon. Instead, he finds himself staring at a skeleton.
And we're not being metaphorical.
Not in the slightest. I mean, she wasn't just thin. We are talking literally skin stretched tight over bone. The body on the bed is so emaciated, so withered, she looks like an elderly woman in her 80s.
There's no muscle mass left. Her eyes are sunken deep into her skull. It's a scene of, medieval famine, right there in a modern home.
The cognitive dissonance for that inspector must have been overwhelming. He looks at this horror on the bed, and then he looks back at the father.
And the father is just standing there, emotionless, waiting for his piece of paper. He isn't crying. He isn't explaining.
He's just waiting for the bureaucrat to do his job so he can put her in the ground. And in that split second, the inspector realizes he isn't looking at a tragedy. He is standing in the middle of a crime scene.
He refuses the permit.
Pulls out his phone and calls the police. And that phone call didn't just report a death. It pulled the thread on a year-long nightmare that had been happening behind closed doors in complete silence.
Today we are doing a deep dive into the story of Sarah. And we need to be clear right from the start. This isn't just about one violent man. This is a story about a system.
It really is.
It's about a cultural code of silence, a legal system that prioritized reputation over safety, and the terrifying reality of what happens when a community decides that family business is more important than human life.
We are going to unpack the timeline of a girl who was betrayed by literally everyone who was supposed to protect her, her parents, her relatives, and even the strangers who thought they were saving her. It is a heavy story.
It is, but it's one we have to look at directly because the most terrifying part isn't just the violence itself.
No.
It's how many opportunities there were to stop it.
Okay, so let's rewind. To understand that room in 2026, we have to go back almost 20 years. Sarah is born in Kina, and her life starts on shaky ground.
Right from the get-go. Her parents have a volatile marriage, lots of fighting, a lot of instability.
And by the time Sarah's 4 years old, they divorce.
Which in itself is a trauma, but it's not uncommon. Sarah goes to live with her mother and her grandmother. This is the standard custody arrangement in Egypt. And for a while, things stabilize.
But here's where we find the first major twist in the narrative, something that really subverts the usual, wicked stepfather trope we see in true crime.
Yes. Sarah's mother eventually remarries. Now, usually statistics tell us that a non-biological male in the house can be a risk factor.
Right. But in Sarah's life, it was the exact opposite. The sources are unanimous on this. Her stepfather was a decent man.
He was more than decent. He was the only male figure in her entire life who treated her with genuine kindness. He treated her like his own daughter.
Gentle, provided for her. For the first decade of her life, despite the divorce, she had a safe harbor. She had a home where she wasn't afraid.
But in this story, safety has an expiration date. When Sarah turns 12, her biological father re-enters the picture. He hasn't been raising her. He hasn't been there for the scraped knees or the homework.
But suddenly, he demands custody.
And we have to analyze the why here. He didn't come back because he missed her. He didn't fight for custody because he wanted a bond. He did it because of a rigid cultural concept of shame. Yes. Sarah was 12. She was approaching puberty. In the father's worldview, and in the eyes of his conservative community, it was considered shameful for a girl of bride age to be living under the roof as a stranger.
Even though that stranger was a kind, loving stepfather.
It didn't matter. Biology and reputation took precedence over well-being. The father felt that his honor was at risk. He needed to reclaim his property to ensure she was raised according to his strict standards.
He viewed her living with another man as a stain on his reputation. So, at 12 years old, she is ripped away from the only loving home she knows.
Handed over to her biological father. And the shift is immediate. This wasn't a slow adjustment period.
No, he pulls her out of school day one.
That is a critical tactic. Ending her education at the primary level does two things. First, it limits her future, but more importantly, it removes the witnesses.
Exactly. School is where teachers notice bruises. School is where friends ask, why do you look sad? By cutting off school, he severed her connection to the outside world.
He told people he needed to re-raise her.
That phrase really stuck with me, re-raise.
It's chilling. It implies that her previous life, the life where she was treated with kindness, was a mistake. It implies she was spoiled or tainted by affection.
To him, re-raising meant breaking her spirit. It meant putting her in her place.
And that process was brutal. We're talking about a cycle of humiliation, beatings, and servitude. He treated her like a servant to his new wife and his other children.
Sarah became the outcast in her own father's house, and this went on for years. Years of physical abuse, which begs the question, where was the mother?
The mother knew. That's the hard truth. She saw the bruises. She saw that he shaved Sarah's head, which is a specific tactic designed to strip away femininity and dignity.
Wow.
But the mother deferred to the father's authority. Her attitude was, he is her father. He is free to do what he wants.
It's that deferral to authority that creates the silence. So let's fast forward to 2023. Sarah is a young woman now, and something inside her just snaps. The survival instinct kicks in.
The abuse reaches a breaking point, a beating so severe that she decides to do the unthinkable. She runs.
And I want to pause here to emphasize how incredibly brave that was.
This is huge.
In her environment, in that specific community, a girl running to the police station to report her own father, that is the nuclear option. That is a massive taboo.
She flees to her mother's family, and for a brief moment, they actually step up. They see the state she's in, battered, terrified, and they go with her to the police station.
Sarah files an official report. She accuses her father of assault. She demands a restraining order.
And the system works.
Yeah.
Briefly. The police take the report seriously. They arrest the father. He is taken into custody. For a moment, it looks like Sarah might actually get justice. She might get free.
But this is where the story takes a turn into that systemic failure we talked about. The father gets released on bail, and he doesn't go home to reflect on his actions.
No, he goes straight to the community elders.
And this is the turning point. In many parts of Upper Egypt, these reconciliation councils, or majlis urfi, are incredibly powerful. They operate parallel to the legal system.
And their goal isn't justice in the way we think of it. Their goal is social cohesion. They want to settle disputes quietly, without police, without scandal.
But social cohesion in this context feels like a fancy way of saying protecting the men.
Precisely.
Yeah.
The priority is the reputation of the clan. The father plays the victim perfectly. He says, look at this ungrateful daughter. She imprisoned her own father. What will people say about us?
And the pressure shifts. It's no longer about the fact that he beat her. It's about the fact that she shamed him.
It's gaslighting on an industrial scale. Suddenly, everyone turns on Sarah. Her mother's family, the neighbors, the elders, they tell her she's wrong. They tell her she's heartless for putting her dad in jail. They just grind her down.
And it worked. They brokered a deal. A formal agreement was drawn up.
The father signed a pledge, just a piece of paper, promising not to harm her if she dropped the charges.
And Sarah, under immense coercion, recanted. She dropped the case.
She goes to live with her grandmother as part of the deal. But she isn't safe there.
Not at all, is she?
No. The dynamic has shifted. She's no longer the victim who needs protection. She's the troublemaker who brought the police to their door. The grandmother and the aunts treat her like a burden.
They hold the scandal over her head constantly. They threaten her, saying, if you misbehave, we'll send you back to your father.
So the one place that was supposed to be a refuge became just another cage.
She was trapped. On one side, a father who wanted to destroy her. On the other, a family that viewed her as a liability. Which leads us to the final, fatal sequence of events.
It's Ramadan 2024. Sarah is around 17 or 18. Tensions in the grandmother's house are at an all-time high. Then comes the accusation.
Her grandmother accuses her of stealing gold from the house.
Right. And whether she stole it or not almost doesn't matter. Sarah knew the script. She knew this accusation was the excuse they were waiting for to ship her back to her father. She knew that if she went back, she might not survive. So she runs. Again.
This is the last journey. She packs a small travel bag. She takes a Quran. She has a phone with a shattered screen. And she gets on a transport to Luxor.
The sources paint such a vivid, heartbreaking picture of this moment. It's nearing sunset. It's time for Maghrib prayer. The streets are quieting down as people head home to break their fast.
And Sarah is sitting on a curb in Luxor, completely alone, miles from anyone she knows. She's terrified.
And then she meets two girls. They work at a nearby shop. They spot her.
This is the kindness of strangers moment. These girls see a young, anxious girl with a bag, clearly out of place. They invite her to break the fast with them.
They share food, they talk. Sarah opens up just a little. She's desperate for human connection. She's desperate for someone to just be nice to her.
But she has a practical problem. Her phone is smashed. She needs it fixed, maybe to sell it for money, maybe to call someone. She takes it to a nearby mobile repair shop and leaves it there.
And this is where the road to hell is paved with good intentions. While the phone is at the shop, it rings and rings. The shop owner, who is struggling to fix the screen, finally manages to answer.
It's Sarah's family.
And they aren't screaming, they aren't angry, they are frantic. They spin a complete narrative. Our daughter is missing. She's sick. We are so worried. Please, help us find her.
Put yourself in that shop owner's shoes. You don't know the history, you don't know about the abuse, you just hear panic.
He thinks he's being a hero. He thinks he's reuniting a lost, confused girl with a loving family. He tells them she's there.
He and the girls who found her convince Sarah that it's safe to go back. They actually get the family on the phone, they extract promises, the family swears, we won't hurt her, just bring her home, we just want her safe.
And Sarah knew better.
Yeah.
That is the most haunting detail in all the reports. She knew. She was standing there, listening to these strangers tell her it would be okay, but she knew the truth. Before she was handed back to her family, she turned to one of the girls who helped her in Luxor. She said, "If I die, you have to tell my story."
She predicted her own murder.
She was reading the room better than anyone else. She knew that returning wasn't a reconciliation, it was a sentencing.
So she goes back to Kina, and almost immediately the trap snaps shut. It's early 2025. The father decides he is never going to risk a scandal again.
He doesn't just ground her. He constructs a prison inside his own house. And this isn't a metaphor. He locks her in a specific room. He chains her restraints that limited her movement entirely.
And he dug a hole in the dirt floor of the room to serve as her toilet. He turned his home into a dungeon.
This went on for a full year, from 2025 to that day in the health office in 2026, living in absolute darkness, sleeping on the dirt.
And the food. Slowly, he started restricting it.
It was a slow, deliberate process of dehumanization. He wasn't just killing her, he was erasing her. By digging that hole, he ensured she never had to leave the room. By chaining her, he ensured she couldn't reach a window.
And by starving her, he was stripping away her biological will to fight.
I have to ask about the mother again. A year is a long time. Did she try to see her?
The sources are damning on this. The mother never visited, not once in that entire year. She would send messengers, neighbors, or relatives to check on Sarah.
And they would come back and say, "Oh, she's fine." And the mother accepted that lie because it was convenient. It's willful blindness.
And what about the neighbors? You're telling me no one heard a girl chained in a room for a year?
We know now that people heard things. They heard screams, they heard crying, they heard the sounds of someone in deep distress, but they did nothing.
Why? How do you hear that and do nothing?
It brings us back to that concept of privacy and patriarchal authority. The neighbors assumed the father was disciplining his daughter. In their minds, what happens inside a man's house is his business.
If a father is beating his daughter, it's for her own good. They normalized the sounds of torture because interfering would be a breach of social protocol.
Until the silence came. In the final month, the father stopped feeding her entirely. Sarah, chained in a dark room with a hole in the floor, slowly starved to death.
We need to understand the physical reality of that. Starvation is a horrific way to die. It's not just hunger pangs. The body enters catabolysis. It breaks down muscle for energy, then it breaks down organs.
It causes hallucinations, extreme pain, confusion. By the time she passed, she wasn't just thin, she was biologically consumed.
Which brings us back to that office in 2026. The father walks in, leaving her body in that room, and tries to get the paperwork. He thought he could just erase the evidence.
He thought the system that let him take her out of school, the system that pressured her to drop the charges, the system that returned her when she ran, he thought that same system would give him a rubber stamp to bury her.
And he was almost right.
He was terrifyingly close. Think about it. If that health inspector had been lazy, if he had just wanted to go to lunch early and sign the paper without looking, Sarah gets buried and the story vanishes forever.
That inspector's refusal was the first time in her life that an official authority figure actually stood up for her when it mattered.
The police investigation blew the lid off everything. They found the room, they found the chains, they found the hole in the floor. The evidence was undeniable. The father was arrested and charged.
The mother was detained too, initially, but, and this is a controversial point, investigators determined she didn't physically participate in the torture.
She was released. Legally, she might be clear, but morally, that's a heavy burden to carry. She abandoned her daughter to a monster.
And then the final piece of the puzzle clicked into place. The news broke. A photo of Sarah's body, the skeletal remains found by the inspector, began circulating on social media.
And back in Luxor, a girl looked at her phone and froze. The girl from the shop. The one who shared iftar with her.
She saw the photo and realized that the good deed of sending her home had resulted in this horror.
And she remembered Sarah's last request.
If I die, you have to tell my story.
So she did. She went public. She filled in the gaps of those lost days in Luxor. That testimony is crucial because it transformed Sarah from just a victim found in a room into a human being who fought.
It showed us she tried to escape, she had hopes, she had fear. It proves that this wasn't a sudden illness. It was the culmination of a hunt.
It is devastating to think about the what-ifs. What if the elders hadn't intervened in 2023?
What if the shopkeeper in Luxor hadn't answered that phone?
What if the definition of family honor didn't include the absolute ownership of women? That's the core issue here. The father believed he was preserving his reputation by locking her away.
In his twisted logic, a dead daughter was better than a disobedient one. He sacrificed her humanity at the altar of his own ego.
It makes you wonder about the walls we walk past every day. We know about Sarah because of that one diligent health inspector and that one girl in Luxor who spoke up.
But how many doors are locked right now?
That is the question that should keep us up at night. The neighbors heard screams and did nothing because they thought it was family business. That silence is the accomplice.
So as we wrap this up, I want to leave you with a thought. When we hear something through the wall or see something that feels wrong and we tell ourselves, it's not my place to interfere, are we respecting privacy or are we just ensuring that the next Sarah never makes it out of the room?
Knowledge is only valuable if we act on it. Sarah's story is out now. The silence is broken.
That's it for this deep dive. Take care of yourselves and look out for each other.